Hey, this is Andrew Rains with Apex Pro. Today, I just wanted to cover in 15 minutes or less points of emphasis at Barber Motorsports Park. So this is a track that's really close to me, close to our Apex Pro office and headquarters, and I spend a lot of time there. I have thousands and thousands of laps, and I just wanted to summarize using some Apex Pro data the things that I would be emphasizing prior to an event at Barber. So if you're studying the track either for the first time or even if you're coming back to get more laps here. These are the things that I think every driver should know that may not be purely evident by watching video or that you might not even have felt or experienced in your first time here. So I'm going to display my iPad so that you guys can follow along with the Apex Pro data here. And we're going to be looking at some really simple views in the data. I'm going to look at a satellite, GPS satellite image of the track, and that's going to have longitudinal g-forces displayed on it. So that's going to be um, braking and accelerating. Red is braking, green is accelerating. And then the bottom view is simply a speed versus distance trace. So two data views that are very, very important. And I just want to emphasize those. The car is a 1997 BMW M3. It's an E36 M3, about 215 wheel horsepower on Hankook RS4s, so hard street tires. Car does have a wing and a splitter, and good shocks and decent suspension. So it's a fairly competent car. And these laps, we've actually made some changes on the car now. And the laps that we see here, I'm fairly confident were about what the car had in it. There's not a whole lot left on the table. So let's start on the front straightaway and talk about some points of emphasis on the track. So looking at the GPS image here of turn one, you're going to see a nice squeeze of pretty decent brake pressure, hard deceleration here, and then immediately starting to trail, right? Roll out of the brake pedal. You want to make sure you have a nice long kind of soft release of the brake into turn one. If you pop off the brake too quick, you're not going to be able to get the car to the apex and get back to power. So on the speed trace, we're looking at a minimum speed of about 84 miles per hour in this particular case. I'm sorry, it's not quite right. Try to get stopped right on the min speed. Should be about 82 or 83 miles per hour in this car. There we go, 83 miles per hour. So if you're driving something with a Hankook RS4 or other 200 Trebware, this minimum speed within, 3 or 4% of this minimum speed would be acceptable. 78 to 85 miles per hour would be a really good range. It's going to be a good target minimum corner speed. Notice how my minimum corner speed happens before the apex of the corner. And that is because it's a high-speed corner. I want to get back on the throttle soon. So keys in turn one, it falls sharply downhill, slow, long trail off the brake, not maximum brake initially or you'll overslow. So we're only using, let's define it real quick with long G. If I go to the darkest red here and I tap negative 0.7 G of deceleration. So that's probably a 6 or 7 out of 10 on the brake pedal. All right, 10 out of 10 ABS, 0 is no brake input, 6 or 7 out of 10, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 before the apex, just before the apex, hard back on the power. All right, let's talk about some kind of macro views here. Turn one, as you approach, try to glance this turn four corner worker station. This is a next level thing that will unlock a much safer and better laps at Barber for you. If you can see that corner worker stand and notice if they have a yellow flag out or not. You're coming down the front straightaway, click quick eyes up before the brake zone, glance at this corner stand. Exiting one, we're tracking all the way out to the right. This is the turn 2-3 complex. You'll see my satellite line is a little offset. We're not going to get more than about a car width off the inside of the track here. Otherwise, we're traveling too much distance and costing ourselves time. Want to be back to wide open throttle by the apex of turn three, if at all possible, using all the track here in turn four. I'm going to orient the screen so that it follows the direction of the track. It's going to be a little more intuitive. Avoid the curb here at turn four. If there's anything to know about turn four, it is don't change any inputs in the car, pedals or steering wheel, as the car gets light and crests the hill. This is a big hill right here, right? If I toggle down to GPS grade on my map and I move the dot forward, to the crest. You guys can see that right at this point on the track, where the blue dot is and where the crosshairs are, is a peak in the grade. This is GPS calculated grade. That means that you're quite literally, that's what the car's driving over. It looks like that peak, right? So the car's going to get light there. So nice, delicate input on the wheels. Whatever input you had on the throttle before that change in grade, keep it, right? Ideally, we're buried 100% throttle in most cars. If you have more than 350 or 400 horsepower, you might need to release the throttle before you get to the apex of turn 4. You can see right now we're at 90 miles per hour, so at relatively high speed. Higher horsepower cars may be at 100 miles per hour. Just keep that in mind. Delicate inputs at turn 4. The next corner on the track is affectionately called Charlotte's Web due to the big spider that's out here. Right, Charlotte's Web is the turn 5 hairpin. I'm going to go back to my speed trace. We're going to be approaching anywhere from probably 100 miles per hour to 125 or 130 miles per hour, depending on the car you're driving. This is the hardest brake application. You can see on the speed trace, this is the steepest decrease in speed on the speed trace anywhere on the lap. We're going to be hard on that brake pedal and slowly release the brake pedal as we get into the corner. A couple things to note here. There's a corner worker stand right here where my mouse is. I'm going to zoom in on that. At that corner worker stand, the track falls downhill. So if you apply the brakes past that, just remember the car might slow down slower than you would expect it to. It might not quite have that aggressively quick slowdown that you're looking for. It's really easy to overslow this corner because if you brake before the change in grade, the car is going to slow down really effectively. It's also really easy to overshoot it because if you go too deep, you're simply just going to go a little deep on the brakes and you're going to have to brake in a straight line for longer before you turn. Here you see in my long G channel that it goes from red threshold braking to orange at turn in to yellow as I get into the corner. This is representing that I'm trailing out of the brake pedal. I want the left side tires to be right up against the curbing here, and I want to be back to wide open throttle in the middle of the corner here. Because of the nature of this corner, we can get back to power very, very soon, and we need to because the exit is uphill. So I'll look at the long G in the middle of the corner. Anytime you see more than about 0.2 or 0.25 G, that means we're at wide open throttle. Here I'm at negative 0.09, negative 0.05, very neutral, 0.17, that's some throttle, 0.26, that's probably wide open throttle right there. Might increase slightly here. Yep. So I'm back to wide open throttle somewhere in this area. And that's an excellent, excellent target. Turn 7-8 complex, the museum. The only things I want you to remember here are it's not a super hard brake. It's going to be another kind of turn 1 style braking, medium braking here before the bridge, turning in at the beginning of the curbing on the left side of the track here, rolling out of the brake pedal as you turn. Minimum speed should be, in this case, I actually didn't get a great run through here. I might have had traffic or something, just evidenced by the speed trace. Let's look at another lap. Yep, here we go. Let's look at this lap. Minimum speed at the top of turn 7 right here is about 80 miles per hour. Again, not every car is going to be able to achieve that. Some will be able to go faster. So somewhere within that range, 75 to 85 miles per hour is going to be a good minimum speed there. Exit, very, very important. You want to be back to wide open throttle as soon as you can. What you need to know here is this whole section is downhill. You are going to probably use this curb right here where my mouse is. Lighten the brake pedal over the curb. Hard brakes before it, hard brakes after it. So it's brake, release, brake to get the most effectiveness out of the tire there. Quick hands here. You can add a lot of steering, go back to big power fairly soon. Let's find where I'm back to full power, 0.2, 0.28, 0.32. I'm back to wide open throttle somewhere right in this area. The reason we see long G kind of steadily build is because, first of all, I'm not just flat flooring the floor and the throttle. I'm getting the throttle as wide open throttle as quickly as I can, but I'm at 10%, 50, 100%. Is my throttle application there. Also, where we see 0.27 right there, I've still got a lot of steering angle in. The car's going to accelerate better once I unwind the hands a little bit, right? There's a lot of scrub. This car has a lot more grip than it has power, so I have to unwind my hands to get maximum acceleration. So 0.32 is going to be my positive high is positive G. The kink is this quick jog left, right here. What you really want to remember here, I'm going to go back to the grade channel, is that this whole section is uphill, right? I'm going to move the slider forward. Right here, watch the dot on the track. All the way until the exit of the kink, it's uphill. When you lift off the throttle and approach to the kink, or even in between the two corners here, it's easy to lose a lot of speed. Also, the track flattens and starts to go downhill on the exit. So your grip is not quite as good on the exit. So you do have to check up a little bit in the middle. All right. So all that to say, just remember, coming out of the throttle there costs you a decent amount. Be smooth with your inputs. Hold the car left on the first left-hander, then good bit of steering input to the right, back to full power, release the car and unwind the hands. Lots of runoff on the exit. Not too bad of a corner if you push it. Turn 12, which is this complex, 12, 13. This is the second fastest corner on the track. I'll go back to my speed trace so we can look at minimum speeds. I'm going to park the car on the apex right there. I'm at 97 miles per hour as I pass the apex right there, which is a very high minimum speed for that particular corner. So just remember that this is a very properly fast corner, and to treat it that way. Light brakes on the straightaway. Most cars, unless you're on a street tire with a lot of horsepower, most cars are going to have a pretty light braking effort. I'm only braking at negative 0.46, so about negative half a G. So a good, 30, 40, 50% brake pedal input. Even if you have a really fast car, unless you're doing 130 miles per hour plus, you probably aren't going to get the threshold brake. And by threshold brake, I mean 10 out of 10, hard as the car will slow down here. There's a couple reasons you don't want to. The main one being that puts too much weight over the front. It's still going to be a 90 mile per hour corner. You don't want to cost yourself by having to overslow to make the corner because you didn't get the balance right. Just remember, if you turn into a fast corner with all that weight over the nose, the rear end's going to get happy, right? So softer, sooner brake in a bigger, heavy, fast car is very important here. In a lightweight car, it's a breathe on the brakes and then back off. You're kind of trailing off the brake as you go down the hill. You might be able to get back to power where you see the blue dot. Some laps I'm able to go back to throttle. Some laps I'm not. If I do it right, usually I'm not quite able to get back on the throttle. Turn 13, safety element here is very important. We want to use the hill right here. Again, if I go back to look at grade, I want to reinforce this. This is showing us a compression. See this grade channel right here on the bottom? I'm moving the slider. Right here at the base is where the change in grade happens. That's where the track goes from downhill to uphill. At that point, I can turn the wheel pretty aggressively and get on the throttle because the hill is helping the tire get forced into the ground. All right, we want to add a lot of steering input here. We're not all the way track left on turn in. We're kind of mid-track or just left of center as we turn in. As I accelerate up the hill, I want to get to wide open throttle, ideally. Kind of carry my hand straight, just like turn 4, over turn 13. My eyes need to be up past the track. I look at this tree line right here, and I'll put an arrow on it. It's hard to reference this without kind of the perspective from in the car, but your eyes as you crest the hill are going right here. And that kind of puts you on a slightly diagonal direction as you track up and over 13. If you got your steering input right, you're not going to have any problems. You're looking at that tree line edge right there where the trees end, this service road, this little road that you see coming off the parkway right there in that area. That's where you want your eyes going. Turn in for turn 14, which is our next corner here. Turn 14 is going to be right here. And it's a very specific point that I like to define because it helps me a lot. And you can see it in the data very nicely. It's right here where the curbing goes from wide to narrow. There's a narrow piece of curbing that goes all the way to here, but it gets narrow right here. That's where we're starting to turn. Most cars, even this BMW with downforce and on 245 RS4s, I still have to lift out the throttle to get it to turn. Particularly if you have more horsepower, you're going to need to lift and turn. Turn 15, most call this the most technically complicated corner on the track. This is 15, this is 14, this whole section is kind of leading up to turn 15. Notice the GPS line here, it's pretty accurate. I'm going just left of center. For my braking, don't go all the way track left there. Trust me, I've seen the data a lot. It doesn't help to go all the way track left to set up. Light braking fairly early, not too late. It's very easy to blow this apex if you go too late on the brakes here. So encourage yourself to brake lighter and sooner than you want to. Try charging the corner, brake late. You're going to have to straighten your hands. You're going to slow the car down probably too much, and you're probably going to miss the apex. So here it's, again, a little smoother, a little lighter brake. Respect the platform of the car. Trail off as you turn. Get the car to rotate on the brakes, right? Rear end comes around a little bit. Back to wide open throttle at the arrow. Got to get back to wide open throttle there. Main reason is because we're going to lift off the throttle here to turn for 16. So back to wide open throttle, and I'll move the dot forward to the right part of the track. I'm back to wide open throttle right here where you see the slider stopped on the speed trace. Car's right here. Speed trace is going to go up dramatically. So that's back on the power. And then right here where I have the arrow on the bottom screen now pointed right there is where I lift off the throttle and turn the wheel. Lift off the throttle and turn. Some cars you want to lift before you turn. Some cars you're going to coordinate a lift and a turn if you're having trouble to turn it in. If your car is eager to turn in, you might lift before you turn. But most cars will not need to brake there. Most cars are going to be a breathe off the throttle. Then back to power as soon as possible down the front straightaway. Back to power just past the apex in most cases to get a good run down the front straightaway. The Apex Pro timing stripe is early here on the straightaway as well. Something important to remember. All right, that's a quick look at Barber Motorsports Park. Really high level. Use the elevation to your advantage. There's several places where the car is going to get light. There's several places where the elevation is going to help you. Those changes in grade. If you have Apex Pro, look at the grade channel. You have to have Lap Timer Plus, which is $99 a year to access that. But always check that out. It's going to help you a lot. Turn 5 is our only hard threshold braking opportunity. Every other time we use the brakes on this track are to set the weight on the nose, balance the car. 9 times out of 10, the people that are braking the absolute latest aren't the fastest. Usually if you're braking a car length earlier than they are, you're setting the car up to roll more speed through the corner. Of course, braking late is still going to be important, but we want to work up to that. So that's my quick summary. I hope you enjoyed it. Have some fun laps at Barber Motorsports Park, and make sure to leverage your Apex Pro data to help you out. Thanks very much for watching.